and especially if I'm like actively working with people, I'll just be in a
Yep.
studio or at an exhibition, or frankly, in a coffee shop. It doesn't really matter, and just constantly like snapping photos of things that I like, because whether I'm currently working with a client, or somebody calls me up in 6 months, I can still go back to my
Yep.
photos and look at the tag on the wall and try to figure out who the artist is.
Okay, Christina Godfrey, I am excited to have you sit down and have a conversation recorded. Savage Godfrey Gallery, formerly, is Sunn Savage still a...
Yep. Sunny.
Sunset.
It used to be the Sunny Savage Gallery.
Yep.
Sunny's my mom.
Yep.
The gallery was founded in Boston in 1975.
Yep.
And she had 2 locations. She was on Newberry Street first, and
Yep.
then in Post Office Square. And then she went private, so she was just dealing collector to collector. And we recently rebranded
Yep.
and reopened a space here in Norwell. And it's at 693 Main Street in Norwell, and it's called the Savage Godfrey Gallery now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's, and on top of that, hockey mom extraordinaire.
True.
A lot of other stuff going on. And I see you at a lot of events. I recently was at the gallery with Jackson shooting something. That was a lot of fun.
It was so fun.
And I know you're involved in a lot of other stuff. I was at Cambridge Art Association yesterday, and we were, your name came up as like, doing some of their portfolio reviews too.
Yeah. Well, I love. I've specialized. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to just say, what is a portfolio review? Like, what's entailed in when you do something like that?
Oh yeah. So actually, last year was my first year doing a portfolio review with the Cambridge Art Association,
Okay.
and I'm doing it again this spring. And basically, it's all done on Zoom now, and artists book times with the reviewers. And when we sign up to be a reviewer, we kind of say what our specialty is a little bit, like what we're interested in and things, what we do day to day. So I think you can kind of pick who you want to meet with. And then the artists kind of show us their a number of images, their websites, and we just talk. I think they're like 20-minute windows, and we just talk and try to give some advice. And then, you can follow up afterwards. If there's more to talk about, you kind of get, there's a hard stop because people have signed up for all these times. So if there's things to follow up on, you can, and I always try to, if the conversation kind of, if we need to connect some dots or close up a conversation. But it's a really nice way to get some feedback from some fresh eyes for the artists. And then for me, I've always been interested in working with emerging artists. And then it kind of turns into emerging to mid-career, because you end up working with artists for, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 years or whatever. But so it's a great way, participating in these art association portfolio reviews or exhibitions, being a juror is a great way to be able to see a lot of artwork.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I really enjoy about it is being able to, without me talking about being a hockey mom, so busy these days, in and out of the rink until the games, it's hard to get to open studios and things for me right now. So participating in these portfolio reviews or being a juror of a art exhibition is a great way to see a lot of art fast.
Yeah, and you recently just were one of the jurors for the Duxbury Art Association.
Yeah, and we're going in next week to pick out the best in show.
Nice.
And I'm really excited. There were 550 entries.
Yep.
That was like mind-boggling.
So
for me, anyways.
When you review something like that, the names are anonymous, right? So it's after the fact. You're probably, taking notes on whose work you liked, or.
Well, yeah, of course, it's always better to see art in person.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get into the Duxbury Art Complex to see the art on. I think we're going in on Monday. And then to go to the reception and meet the artists. That'll be great. So I can't wait to see pieces in person, because obviously when you look at it online, the measurements are there, but you don't get a sense of the
Yeah.
scale. A lot of times you don't get a sense of the texture or, washes if it's a painting. So it's always great to see it in person.
Yeah, I mean, and then even
Yeah.
like, not that people are deceptive, but if you hit a filter button or something like that when you're
Oh.
taking the picture, it might not have that true,
Totally.
true feel to it. Or
Totally.
if it's just not. I mean, I see things that are lit in a certain way, and they read different when they're in a darker room.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And a good frame always does
Yep.
a nice job.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. It's like you see the piece, and if you're looking at just a piece of the artwork, not the whole thing, and then you see it in a terrible looking frame, like that can ruin it for sure.
Oh, totally. So I'm really excited to get into that show and see everything in person. I
Yep.
think it'll be great. I'm sure I was actually here the other day, and one of the photographers was here framing up his piece, and I got to introduce myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
A young guy, I can't recall his name right now, but he's got a beautiful photograph of a deer in the woods, and he took it at Wampatuck. And I actually voted. I think it was like one of my favorite photographs.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was such a great like connecting the dots moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like that's the kind of, one of the things that we're trying to do here. That you have kind of a similar mission in mind from our conversations. Like this space is about connecting artists and art buyers, and you were saying you like to help people that are emerging, but like people that are also like beginning collections, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel I have had some wonderful experiences throughout my career. I've been an art consultant for about 20 some odd years. And I've had some wonderful experiences up in Boston where we had student shows.
Yep.
So it would be like we'd do a call for art at like Mass Art or the museum school, and then make a little exhibition and have a reception and stuff. And it was at RSM. Which is in Charlestown, which is a CPA firm, but they had an art gallery, which they hired me to curate. So the partners would come and they would buy a couple pieces of artwork for their home or for their office or whatever. And it would be like the first piece of artwork that the student had sold that wasn't to their family.
Yeah.
And they were just, ear to ear grins, and they were so excited. And then, but also the people who are collecting or the people who are purchasing it are able to buy something at an approachable spot for them. And I just think on both ends, it's just so rewarding to have those early sales and then also those early purchases, and then you get to bring them home and really see what a difference it makes and what a great feeling it is to support an artist and to buy from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I constantly think of the story behind the piece of artwork, and there's so many different levels to that, in my opinion. There's the story of the creation of the artwork, right? Like why the artist wanted to do it, and that's one of the things I want to tell when I'm interviewing artists. Because I think it makes the piece more interesting. So like that story needs to be told, but then there's like a whole different story of like the person who purchased it and like what their connection to the artist is, why they purchased it, like what made them love it and want to hang it on their wall and look at it for even longer.
Yeah. Dave, do you watch Antiques Roadshow? Because you sound like you watch Antiques Roadshow.
I honestly have never seen Antique Roadshow. It's been on a TV before when I've flipped past channels, but maybe I should start watching it.
I don't mean it's not like I record it or anything, but whenever it's on, I always end up watching it for a couple of minutes because I love the story of how the piece got to the person who brought it to Antiques Roadshow, because it's like their grandmother, or it was up in the attic, or they found it at a junk shop, and I love, I just love that history. It's so amazing what's out there.
Yeah, no, and I've talked to people that specialize in antiques and stuff, and actually, I think that I don't know, the stories behind things are so interesting, and I think that also like elevates the artwork, and it elevates the importance of a piece. Maybe you bought something, you gave it to your spouse, or maybe there's like you're on a vacation, and it looking at it brings you back there.
Yep.
And it's not just artwork too. I mean, I think anything that people have framed, there's always a story behind it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're interesting to hear, and people are a lot of times very excited to tell them.
Well, and I really like sort of an eclectic collection.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I've never. It's probably because I didn't grow up in a house like this, but you know, some people, and there's not. I mean, I'm not saying one way's right or one way's wrong. You know, some people collect black and white photography, or some people collect, you know, and
Yep.
they have like a real mission. I'm more of a very eclectic person, and kind of like what we're talking about. There's like a value in like the sentimentality of a piece of just of an object. So
Yep.
you could have, you know, a movie poster next to a painting, next to a record, next to a sculpture, and it kind of tells the story of your life or your history or your family's history, or, you know, travel. I mean, I think there's a big value in that. And I don't think everything needs to be art, you know. Things,
No,
you know,
I mean, photographs are important.
photographs. I think you've got
Objects.
some really cool objects framed up here.
Yeah.
You know, these old vintage cars, and you know,
I mean,
it's,
I think
so cool.
anything can kind of get captured and put into a frame, but it's just like looking at things, displaying stuff, and like being proud of them, and then telling those stories. Even, you know, I mean, I think when you have something on the wall, it's telling a story to a certain degree anyway. But then, you know, actually hearing the story behind it is fascinating to me.
Totally. And I mean, we're talking about like a lot about the person who buys it, but I think, especially because I gravitate towards abstract art, I think it's really great to understand, you know, like the root of the artist, like why they're making it, why they're using that material, why they're painting in these colors, or, you know, whatever it is, because I think then it kind of unlocks that mystery of the abstraction. Yeah. And it all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I get this. Oh, I align with this. Like I've been there, or I've experienced that, and it's really cool.
Yeah. So you almost get to become a storyteller for these people, because sometimes the artists aren't always I don't know. Maybe it's like you know, like
well, you're spreading the information.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're creating, and sometimes they're not necessarily marketers in the sense of themselves, because they're creatives. But, you know, so you kind of get to step in that role in the sense. I mean, I also, you know, we get to help people present their artwork, which is like a very rewarding thing.
Totally. And again, I think we've touched on it once already, but I think framing is so important. You know, having you know, it doesn't have to be the most expensive frame in the frame shop. It just needs to fit the piece. You know, a black frame doesn't work on all art, and a white frame doesn't work on all art, and a wood frame doesn't work on all art, you know. So it's really kind of like trying to pick
there's
the right
a lot
piece.
of different variables, and the setting, the style. So I think we're trying to express all that and, you know, help educate people, because I think that, you know, again, with like the storytelling, educating people in like an educated consumer is you know, almost a better, you know,
definitely
better consumer, someone that starts to understand art, especially like abstract art. You know, they start to fall in love with it too, right? Yeah,
and that's what I want to do in my gallery space, is help educate and welcome people kind of to the art world.
Well, that's another one that I think people are sometimes intimidated to walk into spaces, and, you know, because they don't know what they're, you know, what are they getting themselves into, you know. That's so, like, being very welcoming, I think, is super
and
important.
I mean, the door's open, like, come on in for a visit. We have how do I want to say this? Like, obviously, I want to sell the artwork that's in the gallery. But I also understand that not every art is going to really appeal to people. You know, some people, oh, that's nice, but it's like not something that I'd want to purchase and live with for my whole life, you know? So I want to say, like, come into the gallery, but, like, come back. You know, just keep coming to the shows. We have shows every 2 months. Keep coming. Each show, this one's very coastal. It's more muted palette. The next one's going to be bolder color, a little bit more abstract, like more gesture and texture. So it's like I'm going to try to keep really interesting shows coming in and out of the gallery, so that if somebody buys something from one show, you know, they can come back to the next show and buy something. Or if somebody comes and they don't like what's, you know, it's just not, you know, appealing to them for whatever reason, they can come back and it'll be a completely different show with different material and different artists, and just keep coming back.
Yeah. Now, when you're, do you feel like you're a representative? You're for both, or you're more of like a like in a broker sense? Like, so somebody comes in and they saw like a piece of Michael's, and and they really liked it. And you had a show coming up, you'd be again down the road, and you think that there's like a piece that complements his, would you like,
Oh, definitely.
are you reaching out to people and being like, I think these are things you should see? And
yes, definitely. I have not done that yet per se with this gallery, only because we're so new.
Yeah, exactly.
But but historically, as I've been working, I have a number of clients that I've worked with for 10, 12 years who've bought art for their home, and then they buy a second home, or they buy a bigger home, or they renovate or whatever. So they continue to reach out to me. But also if there's people that, artists that, you just remember, if there's artists that they like, but we couldn't quite find the right piece, or, something like that. It's just like reaching out, saying hello, informing them that we have an exhibition coming up is 100% what I'm going to start doing and continue to do.
Do you see pieces of art and you're like, wow, that would be perfect for
for
so it's like you're like almost like matchmaking in a sense.
Yeah, like personal shopping.
Yeah,
totally. And especially if I'm like actively working with people, I'll just be in a studio or at an exhibition, or frankly, in a coffee shop, it doesn't really matter, and just constantly like snapping photos of things that I like, because whether I'm currently working with a client, or somebody calls me up in 6 months, I can still go back to my photos and look at the tag on the wall and try to figure out who the artist is. My eyes are always open.
Yeah, it
for
must
new
be
art and for clients.
Yeah, so getting to like some of the art associations, getting to new places. So you if you're at a coffee shop, you said like slack tied up the street, and you see something, you're taking notes and. Totally.
You mentioned slack tied. I was having a coffee with my friend the other day, and she was like, I love that photograph. I know the artist, and we just kind of went from there, and it was great. So, eyes are always open, and always thinking about my clients and wanting to find them really great pieces of artwork, really interesting pieces of artwork. And once I really know their style, then I can really or I shouldn't say style, like aesthetic is probably the better word. Then I can really kind of just like shoot them images and say like, whoa, I just saw this. And what do you think?
No, that's all. What a fun job, right? Like,
when it hits, it's really fun, because then it's like really exciting, because it's kind of unexpected and everything. And then
how do you keep track of it all, though?
Oh, I don't know. It's just,
is it just it's just like you have like a giant database with like
No, I should. There'd probably be some value in that. But no, I just I probably do have like a number of artists that are kind of my go-tos. And as people come to the gallery, they'll see those people. But I always have my eyes open again, and I don't know, I just kind of recall, and if I can't quite recall, I just go back to my files, and I probably should have a database, but I don't.
No, I just imagine it must be an overwhelming amount of information.
There's a lot of art out there. I've been trying to keep postcards recently. So like I've just got a cork board in my home office, and I'm just like, when I get good postcards or business cards that have images on it, I've just been tacking them up, because then they're right in front of my face.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm going old school, hard copies.
Yeah, no, that probably is, a Rolodex through of people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always looking at art and like trying to, when I'm at shows, one of the things I'm looking at the frames also to make sure that, see who's we've got to be a part of helping like put into shows, but like always like looking to see what's out there, and trying to bring in new business, or start a connection with those people. Yeah, there's so much good art out there, and then there's some of the people aren't even putting the stuff out.
I know, and I like again in the gallery, the first show we did and the show we have now, and our future shows too. I really like this mixing. So I like, again, constantly keeping my eyes open, but having this kind of group of artists that I've worked with for a long time. So, and again, so that's sort of that emerging to mid-career.
Yep.
So it's like I can keep my eyes open at Slack Tide or at the, Cohasset Library or at the Duxbury Art Complex. But then I can also kind of pair them with somebody who I might have been working with for, many years, and they're a little bit more established.
Yeah.
So so when you come into the gallery, you can find that like entry point collector piece. But then if you're comfortable with a little bit more of an investment, then there's something for you with an artist that has a few museums, are in a few museum collections and are showing at local regional museums and things like that, where it's a little bit more of a collector's piece.
Yep. That's pretty cool. I mean, that must be fun too, just like looking at the different art and pairing it up and being like, the show you have coming up with Michael and Michael Coyne, Susan Ahern. What are the other two are?
Aaron Lehman. Yeah. He's a glass blower up in Lowell, and then Michelle Laureate. Michelle Laureate's an artist who's in the Wareham buildings in Boston.
Okay.
And she's an artist. I mean, I think I've worked with her for 10 years at least. And I went to an open studios. It was probably before I had kids, when I had time to go to open studios. And I walked into her studio and like her watercolors knocked my socks off.
Yep.
I just instantly fell in love with them and started showing them to like all my clients.
Yep.
So, so it's nice to have, so she's probably the artist I've worked with the longest. Michael, I'm just kind of starting to work with. Susan, new to work with. And then Aaron, I've been showing his work for maybe like 2 years now or something like that. But
it must be fun to pair them up and be like, you know what, this is going to look good with that. And like, we're going to have these sculptures, mixed in. Yeah,
I've always really enjoyed that. When I was curating exhibitions in Boston, it was always a mix of some variation of abstract to realism, and then paintings to prints to photography to sculpture. I mean, I like the idea. Doesn't happen that often, but that you could walk in and just see these pairings of artists and be like, this looks great. This is me, and as much as I just said, come in and come back and come back. I want everybody to come back, but I also want to make these beautiful exhibitions that people could say like, whoa, like I could put that in my living room and that above the chair in the corner. And
I'll take everything.
I'll take the room. But it does. It looks really, the shows look really good together, and I really try to make that. Like, I want it to be a group show. I want it to be like really cohesive. Rather than having, like sometimes galleries will have kind of solo shows, even though they're sharing a space. But that's not, I want to make like little vignettes. Like I want to make these like cool little groupings where it's, like right now, Susan Ahern, we have a painting of hers of Button Island, which is in Hingham Harbor, and then a couple studies. And I actually have them kind of right next to each other because I think it's really neat to look how she's translated a painting that's 30 by 40 inches to something, but that's 3.5 by 3.5 inches. And, somebody could say, I'll take that painting and then I'll take the little study and put the study like on the coffee table or like side table, because it's really interesting to like have the comparison in your home. My dad's an artist, and in my home I have a watercolor and a painting, and they're not the same, but they're clearly related. I don't even know which one came first, because my dad generally didn't like do sketches to then do a painting. But I think it's really neat to have the pair.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I like a lot of this stuff too. Like when you see, I'm fortunate and get into like artists' homes, and you see some sketches, or you see like pieces that are in the works that they don't think are finished, and you're like, what, like. Or they don't even, love them as much, and it's like that's amazing. It's wild. But like some of those like unfinished pieces or the sketches, like or the studies are amazing pieces of work too.
Oh, totally. I've heard that some artists, I think it was Willem de Kooning, would like throw out their sketches. And then people would be going through their trash to get the sketches.
You think about like what, like some of these artists that are prolific,
Yeah.
that are, I was in a home yesterday, consulting with someone, and his wife had passed, and we're looking at everything for a retrospective show. I think. I mean, is that the term?
Yeah.
And it's just unbelievable, just like looking at all of this work, and it's like it's she's not there any longer to say, to give guidance or to select the works. But it's just amazing. I was like blown away, and I've been in a lot of places. He had everything pinned up, and we're just like kind of looking at stuff and trying to figure out how to put this show together on short notice.
Yeah. Are you having it here?
No, it's going to be at South Shore Arts Center.
Oh, nice.
Lorinda O'Connor.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure that you've.
Yep.
But it's going to be something, and I was just blown away walking into that home and seeing all the stuff. It
can be a lot for the artist too. I remember back when my dad was still alive, we had a retrospective of his work in Idaho, because my dad's from Idaho originally, and it was 2 stories. The first floor was paintings, and the second floor was drawings. And he was standing there giving a lecture, a very casual lecture, but it was a lot of students. They clearly, it was like the University of Idaho Moscow Art Gallery, so they clearly, all the art students were there. And he got teary-eyed talking to them about being an artist and your life's work. And I think it was just being in a room, this museum with, his whole life in paintings in front of him. It was pretty amazing, because my dad wasn't really that emotional of a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to sift through and pick the right pieces. And
it is. I think that show's going to will be something. And I think he has like it's talking to him and like seeing all these things, like doing a lot of the smaller work, so that like people can kind of purchase something, and that memory can kind of she can kind of live on in people's homes for what she did.
That's nice.
But walking into that house yesterday and just seeing all the stuff on the wall, and like her work and other people's like work, there's such a different warmth or like feeling about when you walk into a house and there's original art on the wall. I don't know if you pick up on that too at all. Or?
I do. I mean, just for face value, just the color and the texture and everything compared to posters or reproductions or something like that. But then, I mean, again, kind of like what we talked about before, a lot of it, it's a collection, and it has a story. So it can be just for decorative purposes, but it can also tell, all about your life and your family's life.
Yeah, I feel like I've been collecting, people in a sense. Like there are a lot of, I got it when I started buying stuff. It was like people I knew, and I wanted to have their work because I like their work also. But so like every one piece I have in my house is like I have a story behind them. There's certainly pieces that I don't know the artist at all. Yep. But I just like the piece. But like most of this stuff, I could tell you about the artist too.
Yeah, so that's good. Fun. You're a real collector, Dave. Do you have art under your bed?
I have art everywhere. I have
art. In your closets?
I like in my mind, like I wanted to have my house to have like a gallery feel, and like there to be, so each piece would really, stand on its own, and you could like and I feel like after being in a couple places, in a couple homes, and especially my friend Dan Reynolds' home, and just seeing like wall to wall, like. There's no real estate on the walls. Everything is art on the wall. Yeah. I feel like I have to go in that direction.
I love it. I love it.
I have a fair amount of wall space, but like I'm always wanting to buy more. And
you have to go. I think it's on Amazon. What is it? Video or something? Amazon TV.
Yeah.
There's a movie that did I already tell you?
You
about
told
this?
me you've.
Oh yeah.
I've tried to find it.
Could you find it?
I found a couple of things. I think I found it. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, it's great.
It's on my radar.
Good. No, it's Alan Stone is the collector, and he filled a whole house full of
Yeah.
art to the point where like the rooms were like corridors because there was so much sculpture in the house.
Yeah, I recently started purchasing a couple sculptures. Actually, after we were at your studio, and we had a conversation, and you were saying, how, you found that artists are appreciative of people that are buying their artwork in the beginning. And I think that I bought a piece from of Jared Hatfield's before, who has a show coming up at the James this summer, and after our conversation, I was inspired. We were at Kel's place in Situate, and I saw, I'm like, I just got to buy another one. So
That's great.
But that and like ceramics, I've been picking up a fair amount of too.
Oh yeah, I love ceramics.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always have these really nice mugs when I come in here.
Yeah, those are local pottery.
Yeah.
I don't know the people that are making each one. I just
Yeah.
her place is great. She's in Norwell. Have
Cool.
you been in there?
I haven't been in there yet, but I need to go because every time I come in here, I like
Yeah.
love the ceramics that you guys have.
Yeah, no, they're I've had a couple conversations with Lisa of Local Pottery, and
Yeah.
I feel like I want to not just the art on the walls. I want plates, bowls. I want everything
You
in
want
my home to
everything.
be made by a person, not in a factory,
Not mass produced.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you about the sculpture that I have on display right now.
Yeah.
So we have these glass pieces by Aaron Lehman, and like I said earlier, his studio's up in Lowell, and they're glass herons, and they are gorgeous. You haven't come in to see the show yet.
No.
Because the last time you were in, it was the last show.
Yep.
Okay, so
I'm coming.
we have 3 of these herons,
Yeah.
and they're so gorgeous. I love them. I actually saw, again, keeping your eyes open.
Yeah.
I actually saw Aaron's work for the first time in Artscope magazine. So Art New England, Artscope magazine, just like kind of grab a copy, flip through it at the coffee shop, whatever. And I saw these, and I was like, these are drop dead gorgeous. So he has his own glass studio up in Lowell, and he blows. They're really like long, these long heron forms, and they're big. They're like this. They're not bulky because it's a heron, but it's this. And he has the glass, the color on like the inside and the outside of the glass. And then sometimes he'll carve away at it. So like you see the color that's on the interior level and the exterior level, and it's kind of carved out, and then he polishes it. But then the birds have a stainless steel armature that holds them up. That's sort of the leg. And then the leg is based in a native beach stone from a beach in Gloucester. And they're just really beautiful sculpture for the home. They really speak to our area with the herons. I mean, I guess herons are probably all over the East Coast, but they're really beautiful. And that's what the show's called. It's called Land and Sea. So all the show, so we've got Michael Coyne's beach scenes, his newest work. They smelled of paint when he delivered them.
Yeah.
And so they're these beautiful sets of rolling waves kind of coming into the beach, and then the reflection of the wet sand and the sky. They're just very serene and beautiful. And then we've got Aaron's glass birds, and then we've got Susan's landscapes.
Yep.
Abstract landscapes. And they're all local scenes. So they're all of World's End or Button Island. And those are I think those are great too. That's a lot of like palette knife.
Yep.
And they kind of remind me a little bit of John Marin's paintings.
Okay.
They're feminine. They're a little bit more feminine than his, but they're very poetic. But there's like, there's the tangible, like, it's a landscape. I love that that it's like directly here, like the one of World's End. Like you just, exactly.
Is that the 30 that I think?
Yeah.
Is that the one on the card?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw that one. That's a great piece.
I love it. And then who am I leaving out? Michelle Laureate. Oh my gosh, I've worked with her the longest. So I already told you, the first time I walked into her studio, she knocked my socks off with her watercolors. They're very complex. I think I like them because they remind me of the complexity of my father's watercolors originally, but they're different than his. But all of her work, she's had a show at the Art Complex.
Yep.
And I'm hoping to get Craig and the team down there up to see this show. But she's really, they're abstract landscapes, but they're large-scale watercolors. So the largest piece we have of hers is, I think it's 57 inches
Are
by
those
55
the ones you're putting
inches.
up on magnets? Is that?
Yes, I hung them with magnets.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's no
Yeah,
frame, Dave.
that's fine. Yeah. When you sell them, you can tell the people to come
I will.
and bring them in here to have them framed.
I will. But yeah, it's it's expensive to frame something that big and under plexi and everything like that. So the artist, we have some framed pieces, some smaller framed pieces, which you guys helped us out with.
Yep.
And then, but yeah, that large one is not framed. But so it's abstract. But it's definitely a landscape, and she's all about sort of natural patterns that happen, wave patterns. So it's making those patterns, but then kind of breaking those patterns. So it's abstract, but it's a seascape. They're all wave studies. So the show itself is gorgeous, and I hope everyone will come in.
Maybe I'll pop in. What are the hours over there that you're using?
So Tuesday we're there 12 to 4. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we're there 10 to 4.
Okay.
And then other than that, it's by appointment. I'm happy to go in at anyone's convenience. But
as long as you're not at a hockey
rink. As long as I'm not at a hockey rink. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, I know that we're up against the clock, and I think there's plenty of other stuff that we could talk about. Maybe I'll have you. I should invite you to show you some of my collection. At some point.
I'd love to
get a portfolio review of my art collection, and
let's do it.
And let you see what I have, so that you know when something comes across the gallery or you see something, you can kind of point me in the right direction.
Insider tip. Yeah, totally. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, maybe some of the pieces you wouldn't have, be familiar with the artist, but that would be a fun one.
And again, I'm always have my eyes open. I'd love for people to come in and introduce themselves. I'd love to get a referral of this is somebody I collect.
Yep.
I really love them. That's how I've met a lot of artists, is through just recommendations.
Well, I have, I think we talked about that idea I had before of recording stuff like that. Maybe we'll throw the camera on and walk through, talk about a couple artists, and it would be fun, fun to capture, capture that. Yeah.
And you got to come over and see some of at my house.
No,
I need to get more things framed, Dave.
Yeah,
I need to get more things framed.
Maybe I'll get you on the lookout for me. Portfolio reviews, is that something that you offer to clients too, or is that just through the Cambridge?
Well, that's just through the Cambridge Art Association. I mean, I do love going to studio visits as long as I have time.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Not every studio. I'm sure not every artist wants a studio visit to be a critique.
Yep.
And they don't have to be. But yeah, if it seems to be like there's a good connection and a studio visit's warranted, I'd love to go see more work. I was just over at Kelly Russo's studio in Front Street. Yeah.
Well, I think that I'm really excited about the gallery opening up. I think it's a great addition to this area. I think there's awesome art around here that we need to make people aware of. And I think that you're gonna help elevate some of these people, or maybe shine that spotlight on them. So
yeah, I'm gonna try.
Well, and I hopefully this is the first of a few conversations we can record and get out there for people.
Definitely. I love it. Every time I come in here, Dave, I spend twice as much time as I think I am going to, because I'm chatting with you in the corner down.
Yeah. Well, no, they're always fun conversations. And, I don't know. I mean, to me, like, all of art, it's unlimited, right? Like, and there's just so much information out there. There's people, styles, the stories behind the stuff. And, I just want to, pull it all in, and then, kind of like help people connect, like you're doing it with the gallery space. We're trying to do that sort of thing virtually, because a lot of these people are our customers anyway, so obviously we want to see them succeed. Yep. There are the customers, there are artists that we're friends with as well, so we want our friends to win. Yeah, it's a family. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in. My pleasure. Christina Godfrey, part 1. We'll make sure we have part 2 and 3 down the road. Awesome. I love it. Thanks so much.